Today I'll be changing the fuel filter on my 1999 Boxster, and the first step is to remove the fuel cap, and that'll help depressurize the fuel system. So looking at the car from the front, you're going to want to go underneath it and remove 10 millimeter nuts that hold on this plastic under tray. It's going to be the second large plastic under tray as you're looking at it from the front, roughly underneath the seats of the car. So once you remove the plastic under tray, you're going to want to remove this foam piece here. And you can see it's got cutaways, so you just want to remove that. You should just pull off it pretty simply. And then work on these plastic pieces right here. And they have a 10 millimeter bolt on either side, and that's right underneath the fuel filter itself. And then also work your way back towards the front of the car, and there's another one of these plastic pieces. If you remove these bolts, that should give you enough room to move these two lines out of the way and access the fuel filter a little bit easier. So these plastic retainers removed pretty easily from these two coolant pipes here. You may have to push up on this tab in the back to unlatch it from the metal housing bracket. Once you have those removed, you'll have a little bit more room to work. And the next step is going to be removing this ground wire here. And then taking a flathead screwdriver, undoing that clamp right there around the fuel filter housing itself. And then there's a quick disconnect here. And then one onto the back of the fuel filter itself. So the ground wire pulled off pretty simply, and then I used a long, thin flathead screwdriver to undo that band clamp. And just position something to catch fuel before you take off that quick disconnect here. And I drove the car until the gas light came on, maybe about 5 miles further after that. This way, if something does go wrong, you're not spilling 15 gallons of fuel. You know, right now I'd estimate I probably have a gallon of fuel left. But just position something underneath it, and I'm a strong advocate always wearing rubber gloves, and for this I'm gonna have a face shield too. So I got the old fuel filter out, and if I had to do it again, I would position the fuel catch pan I have here a little bit forward on the car. When I disconnected this front quick disconnect clip, the fuel actually was underneath a little bit of pressure, so it came squirting out towards the front of the vehicle. Maybe around 16 to 20 ounces came out all together, but I had this position just underneath the quick disconnect, so I missed probably around half the amount of fuel that did come out. So quick lesson learned. To reinstall the fuel filter, I just slid it up near the rear of the vehicle towards the rubber part of the two coolant pipes where those come together. Slid it up in there. Make sure when you reconnect the quick disconnects, you hear them snap on. They'll latch. So the rear and the front one. And then don't forget about that ground wire up there. Just re-secure that and tighten up the clamp with your flathead. Then I'll work on putting together back those plastic clips, that foam piece, and the plastic under tray. Overall, this job took me about an hour, with taking a little bit of breaks for the video. One quick thing to add when it comes to reattaching these two plastic retaining pieces. I put this one on kind of halfway here, and then I went up and I got this other guy started too, because if you attach one of them, it's going to make it difficult to attach the other. So in this position here, it kind of leaves a gap between these two coolant pipes. So with that, come up, and then you should be able to somewhat easily reconnect this one here, and then come back, work on reconnecting the other one, and then just make sure that you get the hanger up and over. You can see where it's supposed to sit in that piece there. So nothing too difficult. Just another quick tip for you. And one other tip is it helps to have a really big fan nearby when you're dealing with fuel, so you don't have to breathe in all the vapors. Let's see how long it takes to crank after changing the fuel filter. So I just had to give it some revs, and it started nicely, but as you saw, my gas gauge was almost on empty, so I went, put some gas in it. We'll see how it starts now. Beautiful. Next, I'll be replacing the radio.